Hey everyone, this is Russell Holly with Geek.com, and we're going to take a look at an all new Super Mario RPG. This is Mario and Luigi Dream Team. The first thing we're going to take a quick look at is the actual roleplay aspect of the game. We're going to take a look at the stats, and then we'll get into some of the gameplay. And what you can see here is that it's a pretty traditional level up system. You have, levels for Mario and Luigi that have to be maintained as you play through the game. Experience gains you levels up in the actual game. Mushrooms heal you. Syrup jars give you bro points so that you can perform special attacks. And your stat levels for POW is your attack and defense and speed, and then the stash. The stash is your luck counter, and starting out, Luigi's got a higher stash counter than you, which ends up playing into the entire rest of the game, where the characters, the inhabitants of the island that you're on, keep referring to Luigi as the one with the really sweet stash. So it ends up being a luck counter that you can use to get better critical attacks and things like that throughout the game. Your equipment slots are really basic. Your badge slots are designed to create special bonuses depending on your completion level. So you can create special benefits like the ability to absorb the next 6 attacks by leveling up the badge counter, and when the badges connect in the combat system, then you gain that accessory. So much of this game has to do with Mario and Luigi performing things in tandem. They have to work together to accomplish just about everything in the game. And you see that here. It also happens in the combat system, where you have the A button for Mario and the B button for Luigi, and the whole point is having these two work together to accomplish things. They can usually get the job done on their own. The attack system allows for kind of basic jumps and hammer attacks and things like that from Mario and Luigi, and you can get through the majority of the beginning of the game by running these kind of solo attacks with the hammers and with jumping. But really, the focus much later on in the game becomes the bros attacks, which you're going to need for taking on larger enemies and things like that. And the bros attacks are very much timed attacks that run in tandem. They're longer form attacks, and this one, the 3D shell, is kicking the red shell back and forth until you've killed the opponent. And if you miss, then you only get to complete the first couple of steps of the attack, and you end up doing significantly less damage. Once you've completed a successful bros attack, then you end up doing a great deal more damage. And the bros attack relies on bro points, which will kind of act as the magic counter here for the game. When you're not in a combat scenario, though, there are still some things that Mario and Luigi will do together in order to complete certain puzzles. And what you're going to see here is a pretty decent example of that. The combat system has a lot of similarities to the regular in-game motion system, where you've got the activity button up in that top right hand corner, and the default is to jump around. You use that for when you're climbing on steps, or if you want to surprise attack an enemy, you actually jump on them in the game, and the surprise attack will happen, and it'll give you the first attack in the combat sequence when you start with someone. But then you've got the hammer attacks, which end up being used to accomplish specific puzzles, and then here you're learning the tornado attack, which is going to get you across the ledge into the other part of the game. And this ends up being something that you access from the bumpers behind the controller that you'll hit to access these specific abilities, like the hammers or like the tornado. And what you're seeing here is Mario learning this for the first time. And this is something that presently only Mario can do. Luigi will gain another ability to complement Mario's in this feature, just like he did with the hammers. The first half of this game is a pretty significant chunk of hand holding. It's really designed for users of any skill level, and can be a little frustrating for advanced users to kind of have your hand held as much. There's always a fair bit of that in certain roleplay games, but this is really significant in the beginning. It takes you a while to gain a significant combat system that you can use against your enemy without kind of feeling like you're being walked through it. And if you're not careful with the combat attacks, then you'll die. So we'll go through and just kind of wander through the main level here. What you see from the map below, in this grid format, you'll see throughout the entire game, and the map format is pretty common dungeon crawler stuff. You've got everything broken out into grids, and each grid takes up a separate chunk of the island, which is a different part of the story arc. And the story so far is that you've been invited to this island of Pailo, where these strange pillow people have been asleep and fossilized for a while. And anytime Luigi rests his head on one of them, then he can travel into this dream world where you can rescue the Pailo people. At some point in the game, Bowser decides that he wants to work with the big bad in the game, and so ties himself into the game somehow. But the significant part of the game is going through and finding these fossilized pillows and letting Luigi lay his head down on them and transporting you and the king of the Paila people into the dream world to try and rescue all of his subjects. So what you're seeing here is an example of what's going to happen. Luigi's going to lay down, and then once he does, you're taken to an entirely different kind of game where things really look and work kind of differently. And it actually takes on more of a traditional Mario look. And while you're in this combat system, you have access to the same items and a lot of the same combat systems, but there's a lot of extra things that you end up doing. So it breaks up, kind of the traditional system pretty nice. And when you're in the dream, you still have Luigi, but it's dreamy Luigi. He has different abilities, and it really boosts your attack in a combat situation because it's his dream world, so he can kind of set the rules of the world as he wishes. But as you can see, the game takes on more of a 2D feel unless you're in a combat system. The combat system ends up looking very much the same way. But instead of fighting with Mario and Luigi in the dream world, Luigi puts himself inside of Mario, and you become a more powerful single unit that does a great deal more damage while in the dream world. But it also gives you access to more special attacks, which grow as you continue to use Dreamy Luigi and Mario in the state. So the more time you spend in the Pailo area, the more you gain access to these luminary attacks. And the luminary attacks are a little nutty looking. This requires the accelerometer on the 3DS, so you're moving around, you're physically moving around the controller to collect as many Luigis as possible. And when you've collected enough Luigis, then you can take and throw the ball of them at the bad guy. And in this stage of the game, it ends up doing a pretty significant amount of damage unless you're in the middle of a boss fight. So it's a pretty effective way to combat in this particular area. When you go through these areas, everything is broken out into the 2D look, kind of the more traditional Mario gameplay, with its own set of different puzzles and rules that go along with it. And so we learned the tornado attack just a second ago, and here we're going to learn a different variant of the tornado attack that's specifically for the dream world. That's going to do it for us today. This is Mario and Luigi Dream Team, available for the 3DS. You can purchase digital copy of this or a physical copy of this. They are available today, and it's a great way to explore kind of the Mario RPG franchise. We've seen a lot of Mario RPGs in the past. Some of them have not been great, and some of them have been really, really great. This is probably the closest, if you're a fan of the original Super Mario RPG, in terms of how fun it is and how challenging it can be at certain points. So I definitely recommend picking it up if you're a fan. If you've never played any of the Super Mario RPGs before, this is definitely something worth exploring, but definitely not the best representation of a role play game. So you can pick and choose between whether or not that's the direction you want to go. But either way, you're definitely going to have some fun with this. Thanks for watching.